Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It is Thursday, May the 14th. I'm Andrew Gagan. Well, the local market is set to add to its recent losses, with ASX futures down around 0.25%. It was a mostly positive session on global markets overnight ahead of the summit with Presidents Trump and Xi in Beijing today, while sentiment was boosted on Wall Street with the confirmation of Kevin Warsh as new Fed chair, while higher than expected producer price inflation was shrugged off by the market. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq resuming their momentum rally, boosted by AI-related tech shares. Nvidia and Tesla advanced, with the chief executives of both companies, Jensen Huang and Elon Musk, accompanying President Trump to Beijing. Cisco shares surged 15% in after-hours trading after announcing 4,000 job cuts as part of a restructuring aimed at shifting investment towards AI while raising its annual revenue forecast. Ford shares recorded their biggest jump in 6 years after Morgan Stanley called the carmaker's energy business and its partnership with Chinese battery giant CATL an underappreciated competitive advantage. Nebius Group surged after the AI cloud firm reported a nearly 8-fold rise in quarterly revenue. EchoStar rose following regulatory approval of the $40 billion sale of its wireless spectrum to SpaceX and AT&T. And cryptocurrency firms Coinbase and Strategy tracked Bitcoin and Ethereum lower. Well, the US Senate has approved Kevin Warsh as chair of the Federal Reserve, assuming the leadership from Jerome Powell, whose term ends on Friday, but who will remain a Fed governor. It comes at a time of widening inflation pressures beyond the impact of tariffs and the spike in oil prices from the Iran war. Producer prices jumped 6% in April from a year earlier, the fastest pace in 4.5 years. Meanwhile, President Xi and President Trump will begin a summit in Beijing today where trade, Iran, Taiwan and AI are on the agenda. Corporate leaders are also in tow as they try to resolve business issues with China, such as Nvidia, which has struggled to get regulatory permission to sell its powerful H200 AI chips there. With President Trump posting, "I will be asking President Xi, a leader of extraordinary distinction, to open up China so that these brilliant people can work their magic." Well, US longer-dated Treasury yields have reached their highest levels after producer prices rose more than economists had expected. The US 2-year yield was at 4.01%, the 10-year up to 4.47%. Australian 3-year government bond yields close to 4.75%, the 10-year at 5.1%. And the US dollar index up slightly on the day. The Aussie has climbed to 72.6 US cents. Oil prices have eased as investors waited on news out of the Middle East and talks in Beijing. Brent crude futures down around 2% to 105 US a barrel. Gold has slipped further on renewed inflation concerns, which have weighed on expectations for interest rate cuts. Spot gold at around $4,687 an ounce. Copper futures were up 2% to another record high, and iron ore was at 113 US a tonne. And Bitcoin has fallen below 80,000 US dollars. On the corporate calendar today, results are expected from GrainCorp and Xero, while Ampol, Meteoric Resources and Omidyar are due to hold AGMs, and Flight Centre is holding an extraordinary meeting seeking shareholder approval to sell its stake in Pedal Group. That is your day ahead. See you again tomorrow.